Are we?
Okay, we're live now.
Oh. Kent, do you like coffee?
I love it.
Do you like Gettysburg?
I love it.
Well, you should try Little Ground Top, which is probably the greatest coffee ever to come out of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's roasted right here. You know, Bantam Roasters down across from the Dobbin House on Steinmore Avenue? Well, this is where we get it from. They roast it, and you know, some days I go in there for my morning cup of coffee, and there's smoke coming out of the smokestack, and I go and I get a big snort of it, and it smells like roasted coffee beans. Of course, it makes me cough, but it's also really delicious smelling, as this is too. You can smell it in here, right? Ken, it is probably something that has made more people happy in the last year since we've had it out than anything else. Including one of our listeners is a lottery winner, and he said when he had his first sip of this, it made him happier than when he won the lottery. So good for him, right?
Must be damn good.
It's fantastic. I'm telling you, it's like a winning lottery ticket in your mouth with every sip. So you can get it at Bantam Roasters down at 82 Steinmore Avenue here in Gettysburg, or going to addressinggettysburg.com/cafe. Here's a bag for you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks.
Museum of History Studios. You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg's Ask a Gettysburg Guide. We're back. We're back with our live streams. Mikey B is in the back running the cameras. Say hi, Mikey.
Hi, Mikey.
And Charlie Fennell is our guest in the studio today. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Well, I'm in the studio.
That's right. We had some pizza before.
That's right.
We had a nice conversation. And now we're all talked out. Good night, everybody.
I might fall asleep.
And on Zoom, actually it's Google Meet because Zoom, I couldn't full screen Zoom. Google Meet is our friend Matt McClanahan. He was supposed to be here in the studio, but plans went awry and he couldn't get his flight. What happened, Matt?
So I was actually in a jury trial this week. So the jury was.
Did they find you guilty?
Deliberated. That thankfully not.
Oh,
so
good.
I'm a criminal lawyer, but not a criminal.
Oh,
lawyer.
thank God.
There's a distinction.
Yeah,
exactly.
Fine difference there.
Sure, you're not. Sure, that's what they all say.
So okay,
Legal ethics.
Yeah,
right. That's
right.
an oxymoron, kind of like military intelligence.
so
So.
now, did you win?
So winning is subjective, right?
Okay.
So it wasn't. I will say this: I will count it as a win. It did not go as bad as it could have for my client. So we were able to get a good result. He was satisfied. So there you go.
Good. Very good. So we're the subject we're talking about today was this your idea? I thought it was interesting when I saw it come in.
Well, so there was a discussion about a couple of different topics, but this is one that I latched onto. Something I've always found interesting. I've always liked the Ziegler's Grove area, so something that I identified that might be interesting to other listeners.
So Matt, for those of you who don't know, is a patron and for quite a number of years, a loyal patron, if you will. And
That's right.
And we like to have our patrons, if they are interested in a particular thing and they can actually talk on a microphone and not be, well, even if they're shy, they're all welcome. And it's really remarkable. Some of the research. Sometimes they have a ancestor who fought in a certain unit, and they start digging into that or whatever. And some people just like to read and learn a lot of things. It doesn't matter why. Our patrons, if they've got the nerve, they're welcome to come on the show, and we'll set you up with a licensed guide so that all the pressure isn't on you, and you can do an Ask a Guide with us. And so that's what we're doing. This is your second time doing this, Matt. People really liked you on Archer's Brigade.
Well, I appreciate that, but really it's all about having a good partner, and having Charlie Fennell alongside you makes you look a lot smarter than what you actually are. So I owe it all to that.
I'm not sure. Is that an insult to Charlie? Like that he's? Are you saying he's dumb?
I think the consensus
No,
was
no,
that
no, no,
Charlie
no.
definitely stole the show last time.
No,
that was
I
the
didn't.
hanger on.
That's what I'm
That was the
saying.
key.
Yeah.
Charlie's Batman. I'm Robin. So I'm
There
just,
you go. All right. All right. Well, enough of the ass
We
kissing.
both look good in tights.
I beg to differ. So here's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. In case you forgot, in our month off, you can call in for free and ask a Gettysburg guide on the topic of Ziegler's Grove. Or if you can't, for whatever reason, you're at work, you're shy, whatever, you don't want to call in and hear yourself on the radio, the fake radio. You can do a super chat. Super chats of $10 or more are going to get our attention, and they're going to be read on the air by Mikey B, who's monitoring them in the back. Isn't that right, Mikey?
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Charlie housed an entire pizza, so any super chats that we could get some money to kind of recoup what he consumed would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I didn't realize how hungry he'd be.
I don't get out too often.
Don't get to eat pizza very much.
No, I don't.
All right, so Ziegler's Grove then. For those of us who don't know where that is, where is Ziegler's Grove in Gettysburg National Military Park?
Well, it's at the
So
north.
Ziegler's Grove.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Charlie. No, go ahead, Charlie.
Let Charlie do it.
No, I was just going to say it's at the northern end of Cemetery Ridge.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where it is. It's the, I guess you'd say it's right by where the old National Park Visitor Center used to be, not far from the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
It overlooks the scenic Pickett Buffet.
Delicious.
Yeah. But that's where it is.
Scenic Pickett Buffet.
So it's at if you're using the fish hook, it's at the end that connects to where it curves.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so it's at that end. It's the opposite end of Little Round Top.
Right, it's kind of the start of the curve in the fish hook, right?
Yeah, it begins.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, okay. During the battle, whose brigade held that area? Or which brigades held that area?
Well, you got Second Corps in there.
Just turn that mic to your mouth.
To my mouth?
There you go. That's
Okay.
it. Perfect.
No, I look even better. Okay, but anyway, it's Second Corps, Hayes Division. You have Smythe's brigade. I call him Smythe because he's got a Y.
Right.
If it's an I, it's Smith.
I agree.
So Smythe, Willard's in there. You have some of the First Corps units that sort of matriculated in there after the first day. But it's the right flank of the Second Corps.
And as far as any attacks by the Confederates go on that spot, there's really not anything substantial, if anything at all, right? Except for artillery on day 3.
Well, the Confederates didn't get close enough to make an I mean, they got with maybe 50 yards in Pickett's charge, but they broke apart before the units there were actually impacted
Right.
in close combat. They were skirmishing in front of it. I mean, some of those units have skirmishers out there on July 2nd and, of course, on July 3rd. But there's no, it's not a 20th Maine story.
Yeah. Right. Right. So, Matt, what drew you to Ziegler's Grove for the show?
So whenever I first went to Gettysburg, whenever I was in my freshman year of college, my dad and I took our first trip to Gettysburg in 2008. And it was my introduction to the Gettysburg battlefield. That was whenever I drove to the old visitor center, we got out of the car and we immediately walked around Ziegler's Grove and went to that great vantage point there and got to see the fields of Pickett's charge. And it was literally my first introduction to the Battle of Gettysburg. And it's a place that I think it's really unique in the story of Gettysburg, in that it's a place where there's been a lot of memorialization there. There's, of course, the monument to the last surviving GAR member. It's also a place that you can really get a sense of the space and the expanse of the Gettysburg battlefield. And it's really just got a really great story as it relates to it. It's also been the subject of a little bit of controversy, which I think Scott Hartwig did a lot of strong work and research in disproving about whether or not it was actually the real focus of Pickett's charge. And that's something obviously that we'll talk more about this evening. But to me, it's an overlooked, sometimes part of the battlefield, but it's one that obviously the veterans viewed as being important because of the monumentation and the fact that the cyclorama building and the visitor center was located there for a long time.
Do we know, Charlie, during the battle, what was growing in the grove?
Well, trees. Yeah, and I should have brought my crop map, but I think it was probably oak trees. Hardwood.
So grove of oak. So it wasn't a grove of like
no, it's not
pecan trees or something. It was
no, it's a hardwood.
Yeah.
In fact, it's about 2.5 acres.
Okay.
Okay, and in 1886, 87, just a little before my time, they cut them down.
Chop all down. Yeah.
they cut them down, and so the grove then the original trees are no longer there.
Yeah. And where was Ziegler's house?
He sat there down on the Emmitsburg Road.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where. He was a tenant farmer.
Okay.
So he didn't really have a farm. He worked for other farmers. Yeah.
There's I guess it would be across from maybe the Friendlies or that area, the Friendlies KFC area there.
Yeah, it's not in there.
There's a picket fence.
Mm-hmm.
Is that as I was always under the impression, I forget where I heard this, but that picket fence marks where there was once a house that was there during the battle. Is that true?
Yeah, picket fences usually were around the houses.
Yeah. So would that have been Ziegler's or would that have been somebody else's?
It wasn't too far from the grove.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not too far.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not Brian's farm. Because it's very close to the Bryan house.
Yes. It's not Brian's grove.
No, it's not. Well, he wasn't leasing it to Ziegler.
No.
Okay.
No.
And Ziegler's a kind of a common name around here.
Yes.
Who would he have been related to?
Well, other Zieglers.
So,
is this a genealogy test or something?
Is it like Lydia Ziegler, who was at the seminary,
well,
like those Zieglers, or we don't know? We don't know.
I'm pretty sure
that's okay.
it.
Sorry,
he's German.
Yeah, right. Obviously,
or he wouldn't be living here in the first place.
Right.
Probably,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Matt had alluded to an article that Scott Hartwig wrote when he worked for the Park Service.
Right.
And actually, Scott and I did a show about that, maybe probably going back 3 or 4 years now. And go into that, Matt, there. So there's this controversy that Ziegler's Grove was actually the copse of trees. Who put that idea forth first?
So there's been a couple of different people who have advanced it, but it gets memorialized in a book that's called Lee's Real Plan at Gettysburg, and it's just respectfully to the author, I think it's just another way to just try to sell his book that, hey, I've discovered this new research and everything you've known about Gettysburg is false. And his basic thesis is that Ziegler's Grove would have been a much more prominent wood line feature than the copse of trees that we traditionally believe to be the focal point of Pickett's charge. And he makes a lot of hay out of some scant evidence. Part of it is the fact that the grove is taken down as Charlie alluded to in 1886. And at that point, there's no trees at all. So he's utilizing a lot of post-war notations about it, and they would have said, oh, well, that was really this prominent feature. We're missing that now because it was chopped down and it's lost its prominence, but Lee would have been able to see that from Seminary Ridge, and really that's what the overall focus was. And his thesis is you got Burkitt Fry, Archer's Brigade formerly, that's going to come straight across in a direct attack, and then you have Pickett's division that is going to be making that left oblique across the fields of Pickett's charge. And the idea is that they're going to, coalesce and come together at that area. Now,
Right.
It's also somewhat of a juncture point between what remains of the First Corps that have gathered on Cemetery Hill and the Second Corps under Hancock. That's where they come together, and there's a little bit of a ravine. And if you walk the land today, you can still see that. Now, whether or not Lee knew that on July 3rd, 1863 is doubtful. So that's the basic gist of it, is that Ziegler's Grove would have been more prominent. It could have been seen from all aspects of Pickett's charge. So that's where, that they could have guided on that easier than the copse of trees. Now, that's not really supported necessarily by the first-person accounts. No less of an authority than John Batchelor. He's the one that says, hey, the copse of trees, that's actually where it is, and that's why you have the high watermark monument there and the monumentation around that area as well. That was what was ultimately the guide point for Pickett's charge. And as you see the Confederate forces coming together, that at the angle, that is the nexus of the attack. And when you think, and Edward Porter Alexander talks a little bit about that and his reminiscences of the war. So Scott Hartwig did a great job, really extensive research and going back to those first person accounts. And obviously the copse of trees that we have now is not the copse of trees that were there in 1863,
Right.
But most likely that was going to be the focus point of the attack, and that's where all of the Confederate brigades were to converge.
That makes sense, right, Charlie?
Yeah, actually, Kathy George Harrison did a study on Pickett's division, and basically, if you look at it, you got it. What's the objective? Well, the copse of trees isn't the objective. Ziegler's Grove isn't the objective.
Right.
The objective, Cemetery Hill.
Yeah.
Lee wrote that in his report, and he said the ground gained on the Union left on July 2nd gave us an artillery position from which we believe with the proper concert of action we could take the heights beyond.
Okay.
So the heights beyond Cemetery Hill. Lee is focused on Cemetery Hill the minute he sees it.
Yeah.
That's the key ground. Okay. And so initially it was the Cadore farm that was being used by Pickett's division to move to where Lee wanted him to go. And then this is Scott Hartwig. This was back in the last century, back in the Dark Ages, when they had Heritage Days. The week of the 4th of July, they would have programs every night at the old junior high.
Uh-huh.
And these were well attended. You had to get a ticket. It was
Right.
standing room only
Right.
sometimes. There was like 400 or 500 people in the auditorium.
And this was the Park Service that put these on?
That was the Chamber of Commerce. It was Gettysburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The tour center was not the tour center, but the tour center, where the double deckers run. But anyway, Scott Hartwig did a program on just what we're talking about. This was like 1987, maybe 86. I don't know. I can't remember past 1980. But anyway, so the thing to keep in mind is that he's talking about Pickett's attack. Okay. And he said that, and this is, we have evidence to support this, that Armistead and Kemper got together at the Cadore farm, and basically said, well, what do we do now?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And they looked up and they saw these trees sticking out. Well, let's go to there. And so that's when the copse of trees kind of enters the picture.
So you mean it's not Lee saying to
it's not
Longstreet,
Lee. No.
see that little copse of trees over there?
No. What Lee showed Longstreet, and this was also pointed out by Scott, is that on the morning of the 3rd, okay, Longstreet's supposed to attack simultaneous with Ewell, which he doesn't. Longstreet is, he's off.
Yeah.
He's off. So, we blame Lee for Pickett's charge. I blame Longstreet. Because if he attacked at dawn with Ewell, then Pickett's charge, as we know it today, wouldn't have happened.
But I thought the gotcha. Yeah.
So
if he had continued his attack from the day before.
What Lee does is he gets Longstreet, I always like to think he's taking them by the ear and pulling them out. And he takes them out in the field. They're actually beyond the skirmish line.
Really?
Yeah, they're out there beyond the skirmish line. And he shows them the stone wall and the angle in the stone wall. And that's what he tells them he wants you want to hit. It's where that curved tree sits. So if you really want to get to what the objective was, what Lee pointed out, where you want to go, it's the angle in the stone wall.
Okay.
It's not the clump of trees. It's not Ziegler's Grove. Okay. And years ago, 15 maybe now, they put one fence across the field from the Confederate line near the Virginia Monument all the way to the Emmitsburg Road.
Yes.
That's the fence of direction. That's what Kathy George said. She was chief historian at the time. Archer's men are to follow that fence. Now, a lot of the rails are down, but the posts are still on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
And that brings him to the angle. And then Pickett's men doing that left oblique, as Matt said, are to close in on Archer and then hit the angle.
Right.
And once they break through the angle, they're to wheel towards Cemetery Hill.
So it's split the line in the center.
Yes.
And then turn and roll it up.
To Cemetery Hill.
Now, are they supposed to all go towards Cemetery? Because what about their rear? Aren't they afraid that Union troops south of the copse of trees are going to hit them in the rear?
Well, they got artillery. They're supposed to advance too, which didn't happen.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Anderson's troops are to follow. I mean, he actually started to advance and Longstreet stopped him. Now, two of the brigades already went in.
Right.
You know, Wilcox and Lang, they had already gone in support of Pickett. But the other ones, you know, if you want to be at Gettysburg, you want to be with little Billy Mahone.
Yeah.
Little Billy.
Yeah. What did he do?
You got one guy casualty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the plan. So let's get the objective straight
Yeah. Okay.
before we get confused on language. The objective of Cemetery Hill.
Yeah.
The copse of trees is a waypoint. Now, in support, I don't know if I haven't read, can't remember all that Scott said in his article. It's very detailed. But if Ziegler's Grove is indeed the objective, if that's the focal point, why in the world wouldn't Rhodes advance and Anderson and strike that side of it while Pickett and Pettigrew and Trimble are hitting the other side?
Yeah.
So
I never really understood why Hood and McLaws's divisions are out of the picture at this point. But you've got, like you said, Rhodes.
Yeah.
I mean, he could do something, right? But they don't. And is that even part of the plan? No.
No,
Right.
it's not.
So that's why it seems odd to me. The whole Pickett's charge thing just always seemed, not always, but as I get older and I learn more about things, it seems more odd to me. I understand some of the thinking, or at least the thinking that historians have told us was going on with Lee.
Right.
But I just, it's to me, it's like, you've got this whole army. Granted, it's not all in perfect condition,
Right.
but it doesn't need to be. If you can move, I'm guessing, if you can move enough of them forward at roughly the same time,
Right.
the Union's not going to be able to shift many troops, right?
That's right.
And so just having Pickett and then the depleted divisions of Pettigrew and Trimble,
Right.
making this attack seems almost, I mean, I hate to say this because I know we're not supposed to say anything bad about Robert E. Lee, but it seems like a real asshole move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me the more that time goes on. It seems like a waste of life.
Well, it turned out that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know it's not going to work till you try.
Yeah, but
I think it was probably the best out of the bad decisions that Lee had at that point. And obviously hindsight's always 20/20 with those things. But if you're Lee, you know you're going to have to move your army. You've never been this far north. From a logistics standpoint, you're going to have to, you run out of food for the army. make this one mad dash. Maybe you get lucky and you win a great victory like you had at Gaines Mill and during the Peninsula Campaign in 62, and you break the Union Center and you won a great victory on Northern soil. But he knows, to Charlie's point, he has to get that ground in front of him, because Cemetery Hill itself is an outstanding artillery platform, and it really dominates the Gettysburg battlefield. And it's cleared. They didn't have to do a whole lot of work on it either. I mean, it was largely denuded trees in 1863. Now, obviously, they do some more work on it, and especially on Copse Hill. But if you can break that juncture point, then not only do you take that high ground that the Union Army's utilizing for their artillery platform and they're shelling the Confederate lines, but also you start cutting and severing those roads that the Union Army's relying upon for their supplies as well. So from Lee's perspective, he's attacked on both ends at this point. He believes that the Union Army's reinforced there. He thinks that he's going to be able to, but one, I think Lee thinks he has more men than what he actually has as well. So he's thinking of this grand assault, and really he's got one fresh division and two largely depleted divisions that just don't have enough punching power to be able to go through that. He also thinks that his barrage was more effective than what it was. Part of that is because they hit a Union war wagon that's got a lot of ammunition and powder in it, so there's this big explosion. And he thinks that maybe he softened up the Union defenses, when in reality, most of the Confederate artillery barrage did a little damage to the Union fighting men that were along the ridge. So, I mean, obviously Pickett's charge is a mistake. Nobody's going to go down in history saying that was one of Robert E. Lee's best decisions. But I think the military advantage of Cemetery Hill and knowing that time was running out and Lee's a gambler, I think that was Robert E. Lee's best move under those circumstances. If you're not going to retreat,
right?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
or
Mike.
we redeploy.
Redeploy, right?
We had a super chat from Faye. Faye, thank you for your question. And it's relevant to this. So Charlie, AP Hill during Pickett's charge.
He's around somewhere. Of course, it's a lot of his troops are utilized in the charge. Lee put it under Longstreet, if for no other reason, maybe Pickett's division being the fresh division, the division of decision. Many of my guide friends think that he's having that prostate problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he might be, trying to take care of that. He does have a reoccurring inflammation there that causes him the fact that he can't pee, which would be very painful.
Torture. It's torture.
If you're riding a horse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
Yeah, so he's kind of out of the picture, and a lot of people overlook Hill simply because he's with Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
right.
So Lee's there, so Hill doesn't have to really do anything. Lee's making the decisions in that respect. So that's pretty much where Hill is. I do want to add that if you want to use Ziegler's Grove as the objective, I think it's more the objective for the artillery barrage than it is for the infantry assault. Lee wants the guns off Cemetery Hill.
Oh, sure.
Now, you can make a case, and it's a good case, as Matt pointed out. The infantry defending the ridge were, relatively unimpacted by this tremendous barrage. But don't tell that to the artillerymen.
Yeah.
They were devastated.
Or the 108th New York that we were talking about before
That's right.
the show.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Ziegler's Grove, okay, there's no fighting there. They put a visitor center there. They put a monument to the last survivor of America's greatest generation there, the Civil War generation. They put a parking lot there. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's Ziegler's Grove. But during the battle, during the barrage, I mean, you got Woodruff's battery. It's decimated. Woodruff was killed.
Yeah.
So don't tell him it was ineffective. You got the 108th New York, and they're in support on July 2nd, and there's Slice Division, 2nd Corps. And if you look at their monument, they're laying down. It's a great job if you can get it. All you do is just lay down. And when you read the back of the monument, they have 51% casualties.
Yeah.
Sign me up for the 20th Maine any day. Don't put me in the 108th New York.
No.
And they never pulled a trigger.
Right. That's the thing. I was looking at their monument today, and I read the back, and it was 102 casualties out of 200.
That's right.
And 18 of them, I think, were killed.
Yes.
And that's from artillery.
Artillery alone.
I mean, that had to be a nightmare.
Yeah. And Cushing, another, member of the illustrious classes of 1861, he's killed during the barrage, mortally wounded.
Right.
I mean, a bullet finally puts him out of his misery, but he's mortally wounded there in the angle. Okay. And Woodruff was down. Martin, also a member of that class, his artillery's in reserve, and they take casualties. And those last, Woodruff and Martin are right there at Ziegler's Grove. So as one guy said, there is no safe place.
No.
There is no safe place.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there was somewhere I wanted to go, and I totally lost it because then I was thinking of the casualties, and it just threw me off.
Okay.
Matt, where do you want to go with this?
So I want to talk a little bit about after the battle and sort of, them putting back Gettysburg after this point, because I think sometimes we don't think about. Go ahead.
I just remembered. So I wanted to go back before we got too far away, and then we'll go into the future. So
Back to the future.
You mentioned before that the authority that Scott Hartwig points to is John Batchelder for the copse of trees. But who was Batchelder's authority on that? Because I think it's kind of important that we get that in there.
Yeah, so Batchelder is a fascinating story in and of itself. But I mean, he actually travels to Gettysburg, walks the battlefield, and also he conducts more interviews. And Charlie would correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think he talks to more veterans of the Battle of Gettysburg than any historian that has ever written about the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah, I agree.
During that era. I mean, so just extensive interviews. Again, just going to the battlefield. He has access to the burial maps. So much information that he gleans from, and that's why the Batchelder papers are the gospel when it comes to researching the Battle of Gettysburg, and why it's so important for us to kind of have that be a jumping off point for a lot of our research. So that's where he's drawing that information from, is those interviews, those letters that he would send out, and the veterans would send back. That information is what brings that information about.
717-420-1978 is the phone number to call if you have a question for Charlie or even Matt. Matt is our honorary guide today, apparently. And that's the number there. Okay, so now let's move into the future. So go ahead.
I just want to add to what Matt said.
Go ahead.
In 1869, Batchelder arranged to have the veterans come back and walk the battlefield. I think there were 104 that came, and there were only 4 Confederates. They stayed at the Springs Hotel.
Right.
And
How do you pronounce that word? Catalysine?
I don't.
You just say the Springs Hotel.
I say the Springs. Catalysine, I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, no, I can't.
It's like
either.
wristwatch. I can't pronounce that either, but that's another story.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Walter Harrison is there. He's a staff officer for Pickett, and he and Batchelder are riding along what became Hancock Avenue, would be still Cemetery Ridge at the time, and he's explained to Batchelder, Pickett's charge from a staff officer's perspective, which Batchelder was very interested in. And they ride past this copse of trees, and he said just nonchalantly, he said, that bunch of trees is what we were aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps on riding, and he looks around, Batchelder isn't there. Batchelder got off his horse. He has a piece of wood. He's nailed it to the tree, aiming points for Pickett's charge. Okay. Now, here's another thing. And don't tell anyone I said this.
Okay, we'll keep it between us.
That there are actual witness trees in the copse.
Yes.
The farmer didn't cut them all down.
Right.
Because Batchelder asked him not to. He was cutting them down, but he didn't cut them all.
So it was Basil Biggs who was the farmer, right?
Yes.
And he's there, and he's just because it's his property.
Well, yeah. It was
And
a tree.
he's clearing out the trees there, right?
Right, yeah.
And he's like, "No, what
Yeah.
are you doing? Don't you know what this is?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's firewood."
It is.
Like,
Winter's coming.
What do you want
Winter
from
is
me?
coming.
Yeah, but so and then they bought that from him. Didn't
They
Like,
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
yeah.
And so
And Basil Biggs at that point owned what we call the Fry Farm. Is that right?
I believe that's right. Yes.
So that's
the Fry Farm. Yeah.
Right on the Tawny Town
Tawny
Road,
Town
that
Road,
nice
yeah.
red barn and
Right.
quaint little house right
Yeah.
there. Little south of Meade's headquarters.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Where did I derail us from? Where were we going? Oh,
We're going to the future.
We're going to the future. Okay, so let's go back to the future now, Matt. So now we talk about the thing about Ziegler's Grove, because as far as the battle goes, it's a lot of artillery flying around there, not a lot of really no infantry stuff to speak of, action to speak of. But it is a convenient place for memorials to a guy that wasn't even there,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Albert, what's his face? And Wilson, right? Wilson, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got Albert right. I
Well,
knew
you did. Yeah, I thought you were going with Einstein
say-
there for a minute.
Albert Einstein. He's sitting there.
That's really Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about quantum physics and stuff.
Let's not.
No, okay, because did he even do quantum? It doesn't matter. So, the visitor center,
Yes.
the first Park Service visitor center
Right.
on the battlefield,
Yes.
was there. Not the first Park Service visitor center. That was in town.
Right. It was in the old post office.
Yes, which is now the library.
Right.
Not for long though. The library is moving.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, so the cyclorama. Now, so I know it as the cyclorama building because when I started coming, it was no longer the visitor center. The Rosensteel building was the visitor center. The original park visitor center on the park, the cyclorama building, was just the cyclorama building.
Right.
And what I find interesting when I think back on that building inside is how in the hell was that a visitor center? It was small.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, especially compared to the behemoth we have now. But at the time, like, it wasn't very large.
No.
But I guess you didn't do much except go see the painting and maybe sign up with a guide or something. Did they have exhibits?
They had some. I mean, it's not like the Rosensteel.
No, that was great.
Yeah, and I guess they didn't feel the need to do that because they didn't own the Rosensteel collection yet.
Right.
But the idea was that they would that the drum would open up, and then they would put on programs using it as a stage.
Right.
And so the people would sit out on the
Yeah.
and then look in. The problem was it leaked.
Yeah.
And the second year they couldn't do it. It rusted.
Yeah.
Wouldn't move.
Yeah. So the drum would have slid
Slowed
open.
open.
Right.
Yeah. It would have been like an amphitheater. or
Right.
whatever, Yeah.
And then weren't there doors on the first level that were supposed to also open up
Yes,
like that?
that's correct.
But within the first few years, the ground had settled, and then they wouldn't move at all.
That wouldn't move
wouldn't
on.
budge.
Well, then the thing leaked and water got in the mechanism. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't even go to the visitor center when I came. I came in '64,
Okay.
and I went to Rosensteel Museum, and I saw the electric map. That's all I needed to see.
Well, yeah. So that's okay. So so they go from the cyclorama building to the Rosensteel building. What year is that? 70s?
71.
71.
I think it's 71.
Okay. And they buy the Rosensteel artifact collection
And the building.
in the building and the electric map.
Yes.
And there it stays until 2000 and I was here at the time. Was that 9 or 10?
It was about
When did they
9.
tear that down? 9.
9.
2008 or 9, right?
Yeah.
As they were building the new visitor center.
Right.
Okay. The Rosensteel building, was that originally, because I've seen it referred to, I'm reading a book now by David Remington called A Gift to America about the foundation and the new visitor center. And he referred to it in the book as the Rosensteel Mansion. Was that once a home?
Yeah, they lived there.
They lived there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, so as we knew it then, there had to have been additions built on the.
Yeah, the electric map went in. I think the addition went on in 64, I think.
Okay.
Before then, you walk in the building and you'd look down on the map. You stand around, and they had a guy with a pointer.
Okay.
And since it was so popular, by 64, they had stadium
They
seating.
made the seating, yeah.
And they had the video, or the audio, I mean.
But that was prior to the Park Service. So they put the
yeah.
addition on when it was private hands.
Yeah, it was private.
So do you think that's what most people did? Is they went to the Rosensteel building because it had all the artifacts and it had the attractions.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people weren't into the cyclorama, I guess.
It had a better bookstore.
Well, and I also heard or read that, and heard that the cyclorama, when it was in that building, was not at all the way it is today.
No, it's not.
It was just hanging there.
Yes.
It wasn't put up properly.
No.
And it was covered in soot.
Among other things.
Among other things. It was dirty.
Yeah.
It was not a vibrant painting like
Well,
we
they had the pot over the fire by Meade's headquarters.
Yeah.
It was held up by 2 legs, not 3.
Oh, right. Right.
I couldn't believe it. I was looking at it. How did it stay up there?
It's a magic balancing pot.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. The whole point of the cyclorama is, and I forget what they call it, where it's twisted.
Okay.
It's also curved.
Right.
And that's part of the effect
Right.
of it. But also you have to have what we have today, which is that diorama in front of it because it leads into the painting.
They didn't have that.
And in the case of the pot there, that third leg is a real practical object on the set, right?
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's I'm so impressed with that, especially because it's, the really old technology, but the way they restored it, I mean, that's like top job, like really, really cool. And if you ever, and I've said this before on the show, folks, if you ever get the chance to do an evening with the painting, do it, because you get to go under it and you could even go behind it and you can see what I'm talking about. It is an impressive feat of engineering and science and art all together.
Right.
I've got
beautiful.
Matt, I've not seen it since it moved buildings. That's my confession.
Is that true?
Criminal. Yeah, swear to God. Yeah, I've been in the visitor center like 30 times, but I've never.
Oh, well, we have to go then. We have to take you there. I get a little welled up, I got to say. I think they did a really good job with the music, the quotes, the imagery, the smoke. Yeah, the sound effects. It really, really is well done.
Yeah.
Mikey, go ahead.
No, just before we continue in our history one, Rich Snyder had asked a question about troop dispositions behind Ziegler Grove. He asked, does Charlie or Matt know if Army of the Potomac artillery caissons were located behind Ziegler's Grove in front of the Tiny Town Road or on the other side of the road? He said, am I correct in assuming the road was clear of troops during July 3rd? I think there's a few artillery placements and monuments on that road nowadays, right? Were they there on July 3rd?
They were in
the
reserve.
monuments?
Yep.
Right.
No,
there's
the
one,
monu-
there's
You
one
got a
right at the
Massachusetts
entrance
battery.
of the road, down towards the maintenance shed. There's an artillery monument, et cetera, et cetera.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I know you've got it was kept clear that the battery emplacements would have been on the military crest of Ziegler's Grove and wouldn't have been where the roadway was.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they're running caissons back and forth to get ammunition.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so let's now that we kind of we gave you a little preview of the timeline of all the modern things there. Let's go back then to the cyclorama building and talk about that a little bit more before we move on to further details. So go ahead, Matt. Do you want to add anything to that? Because I kind of derailed you.
So just no. So and just kind of building on the cyclorama, there were actually other cycloramas as well. So there's one. The only other one that's in existence is the one in Atlanta, and I would highly encourage any of our listeners to check that one out too at the Atlanta History Center. And cycloramas for the Battle of Shiloh, for example. And these would have traveled around the country. So they would have been made so that people could actually go and set those up at some sort of exposition hall. The veterans would have paid money, or whoever, people would have paid money during that veteran era to actually go and witness it. And for those people of the 19th century, I mean, this was like 3D movies. I mean, for them to be able to see that. And as Matt alluded to, it's very difficult to display. So the park, preserves the Gettysburg prints. They're able to preserve the cyclorama. It's one of the few that survives into that post-war period. And they know that they're going to have to do something. They decide to put the cyclorama there on Ziegler's Grove because of its proximity to a lot of the action. It's a place that they can easily get to. Unfortunately, the Park Service in those early days, they weren't necessarily as concerned about battlefield preservation or view sheds and those kinds of things. That's why you get some of the visitor centers that we have, like the visitor center at Antietam. Yeah. That's in the middle of the action. The one at Gettysburg is on core battlefield and others throughout the country. So they decided to put the building there. I think that it's constructed by a firm out of Los Angeles. Initially, that round building that's put up there, and they put that in the 1950s. And they also erect a large observation tower there as well, very similar to the one that's what we call Longstreet's Tower now. So it's going to be this focal point of memorialization for the Battle of Gettysburg, where people are going to come. They're going to be able to get a view of the battlefield and also its close proximity to the National Cemetery. And in the immediate aftermath of the battle, we know the important role that Basil Biggs played in interring the dead and going and helping the government's effort in preserving the remains of the Union war dead and creating that. And obviously Ziegler's Grove is just a short walk to the National Cemetery and Evergreen Cemetery that's adjacent to it.
Well, was that the Hancock Tower, or was that over on Cemetery Hill?
Hancock Tower was on East Cemetery.
East Cemetery. What was
the tower? Matt's referring to is the fifth of the iron towers that were placed on the field. Yeah, and that was the one that was put there in 1896. It was called Tower 5. Oh. They didn't have that. But we're not sure if it was name. Yeah, we're not sure if it was a 60-footer or a 75-footer.
Okay.
And if you want to know what that's like, the one on Copse Hill is a 60-footer and Longstreet's a 75-footer.
Oh, that makes sense, because I always have a worse heart attack on Longstreet.
Yeah. I don't go up there.
No, I stopped.
Yeah, I go up the one on Copse Hill.
Yeah.
But that's where they put it for observation. And it was the last one that was placed. And the thing about Ziegler's Grove that made it so popular early on was that you get in the grove and you look south and you can see the whole battlefield. You see Pickett's Charge, you can see right down Cemetery Ridge. You put that tower up there, my gosh, it's a spectacular view.
Sure.
It was even better than the one on Little Round Top. And today, it's better. All right? When they tore it down and put up the visitor center, they had an observation deck
on the
cyclorama.
The cyclorama building.
You walk up and it was not quite as
because it was like 20 feet off the ground as opposed to 60.
But Mission 66 in the 1960s, the idea was that these battlefields need quote unquote modern visitor centers. Okay, and they wanted to put them right in the center of the action, so that when the visitor went to the visitor center and they did the orientation film or whatever it was and saw the artifacts and that, they walked out, they're right in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
They're right in the middle of the action. Okay. And like Matt alluded to, it destroyed some of them, like at Antietam, it just destroyed part of the most historic part of the battlefield. But you walk out and there you are.
Yeah, right.
Right. You know, and what I understood when I started guiding, they told me that the original spot for the cyclorama was to be opposite Hancock Avenue behind the copse of trees.
Oh.
They're going to drop it right in there.
Even worse.
Yeah, it was even worse. And,
yeah.
And a lot of the park rangers, especially in interpretation, talked them out of it.
Good.
So moving up to Ziegler's Grove, and it's somewhat hidden by the trees, you know.
That's what was nice about it. Yeah. Is it wasn't really,
it wasn't,
intrusive or anything.
It wasn't intrusive.
Yeah. I mean, it was white, so it kind of stood out on a sunny day.
Yeah, but right after the war, Ziegler's Grove was like Hancock Park.
Yeah.
A little park. They had, benches in there. They had monuments, of course, were scattered through. They had an archway. When they redid it, they put it in the wrong spot. Okay. But that's okay. And then they had to put these things there so people didn't think to drive in it. But that's the archway that would have been in Hancock Park, which was essentially access to Ziegler's Grove.
Right.
So it was, even though the battle action didn't make it famous, it was still a very popular spot for visitors to come to. And Rosensteel built his museum there. Park Service put their park. So
Shade.
yeah, it's not.
I remember when, coming here with the Rosensteel building, we were on a field trip and we hung out in Ziegler's Grove for the shade.
Yeah, they used to have picnic tables.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, yeah. That's right. They
Right.
did.
Yeah.
Now, I know the tower that was up on Big Round Top, you could still see the footings for it.
Right.
Can you still see the footings for tower number 5?
No.
Okay,
It was
so
obliterated when
they removed all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where exactly, roundabout, I guess, where was it?
Well, it would have been right where the cyclorama was put. The cyclorama was put right on top of it.
Oh, okay. So you had the tower first, and then they took it down
Yeah,
to
put
put
that
the building there,
yeah.
and now everything is gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Now there was a tower there before the Iron Tower, wasn't there? Like a wood tower. Isn't that what Philip Petaux used? Or was he using the war? No, because when was he here?
Yeah, he was here in 1882. He used Tipton had a stand.
Oh, it was a stand.
And
Oh, that's
he-
right, because it was 15 feet, I think.
Yeah,
right?
and he'd go up and take pictures from it.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
terrain is best observed from an elevated platform.
Yes, it is.
And so that's what he would do.
Right.
But yeah, the wooden tower that everybody gets excited about, that was Hancock. It's right where Hancock's monument sits today.
On East Cemetery Hill.
And they used to charge for it to go up.
Really? That was the Parks
Oh,
tower?
No.
Oh, that was a private.
Yeah, there was no park then.
Right. Okay. So this
Yeah.
was a private tower.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I can see
they
that.
charged to go up.
Yeah.
People go up and look around,
Oh.
Then they took it down, put Hancock up. Now it's free.
Yeah. Well, now the government owns it, so it should be free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So go ahead, Matt. Take us along on your journey through time.
Sure. So obviously, so Charlie alluded to it. Of course, the park goes through a lot of different eras. The first one is the Gettysburg Memorial Battlefield Memorial Association, the association era, where they're beginning to buy up small tracts of land that are really important portions of the battlefield, and trying to memorialize those portions of it. And Ziegler's Grove is, again, not necessarily that the ground is drenched in blood, or that it was the scene of heavy fighting, what we would think of between infantrymen, but because of its elevated access to the battlefield, and it's sort of at the crossroads of a lot of different aspects of the battlefield, and its key location, it becomes a natural point for people to begin that memorialization process, and as a jumping off point. And the park has invested a lot of time and resources into it as well. Something that I found interesting in researching this is sort of how you marry modern conceptions of what looks nice versus what was actually there. So for instance, the park's trying to restore that area back to its 1863 appearance, but it's really struggled with trying to put the trees back, and the grove hasn't really reached what it was in 63 for a variety of reasons. And if you've noticed the stone walls there in Ziegler's Grove, they're not what a wall would have looked like in 1863. If you look at other portions of the battlefield, those Pennsylvania farmers, they're not trying to build a nice, pretty stone wall like you would see in a subdivision somewhere.
Right.
They literally would just take the rocks and just pile them up because the rocks are in their way, and they don't, that makes them sharpen their plow on the rock whenever they're trying to plow up the ground to feed their family. So you would just have these big masses of rocks that would have been piled up, and it probably would have been maybe a little bit higher in 63 than what we see now, but it wouldn't have been this neat orderly rows. But whenever the Park Service comes in and they say, oh, we're going to restore Ziegler's Grove, we're going to give it this facelift, we're going to put all this time and resources into it, what do they put in? They put in these very nice uniform stone walls that you would necessarily think about. So it's interesting from a remembrance standpoint of, whenever we think what's the stone wall supposed to look like, but that's something that probably is not accurate, even though the Park Service has put those resources in it into recreating the stone walls that would have been there whenever David Ziegler was farming it as a tenant farmer.
Well, I think there's a practical reason for the way they are, and that is because people let their kids and even some of the adults climb on them, and they go from a pile of they go from a pile of rocks in a line to a blanket of rocks because people obliterate it. And so they had to put something up that was a little more substantial and would have withstood Torons.
That's correct.
Unless I'm wrong.
What
you probably are, Mike.
What the Army of Northern Virginia could not overcome would not stand up to an army of 7-year-olds.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. Mikey, what?
No, I was going to say, I mean, the other ones I can't speak for, but I think the Ziegler's Grove restoration project, they were trying to restore it to the time that gate was built. I don't think they were trying to have it, the walls are intended to look, I think, from the 1890s or early 1900s. So I think that's what their goal was when they restored that portion of it and built that little gateway from across the street.
Yeah, that wall that's there now was not built with when Latcher was restoring the battlefield. No. Right. That goes way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be, is what you're saying, is part of the old gateway.
There are photographs of what the walls look like.
Yeah.
There was I think it was 2011. There was a series of articles in Gettysburg Daily that was talking about the walls and showed you what the walls looked like then and then what they look like now.
Yeah.
You know, and so Mike might be right. I might have been trying to capture the park, Hancock Park look.
Well, even if you look, you know the famous photograph of the reunion where they're shaking hands over
stone wall.
Look how that wall is waist high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that had already been redone either by the farmer or by early, efforts of preserving the area. So it is interesting that those walls that we grew up that were crumbled were, in the 1910s and 20s were stood all the way upright.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting. We were talking earlier when you got here how, the park, whichever park we love to go to, is the way it is from the moment we discover it, first visit it, until they change it. And it's like a heart attack that we have, right? Because it's like, no, they're changing my park. It's not going to be the same.
They're messing with history.
Yeah, they're messing with history. But the park we grew to know and love was the change for a previous generation. And we were talking, probably the biggest one is, for I don't know how many years. When was it that you weren't, when they changed the road on Little Round Top to the point where you couldn't drive up to where you can only walk now? Like, remember, we were talking.
Probably 1930s.
Right, because cars were getting bigger. Is that what it was?
They're bringing buses.
And they're bringing buses. Okay.
Yeah, not the buses we have today, but bigger than cars.
Still bigger than cars, bigger than those horse and buggy paths that they had originally made.
Yes.
So they had to change it. Now we can only walk up there. But you were pointing out how the plaque on the Warren boulder, you got to go climb down the hill to go and see it. But that used to be the front.
Yeah, it used to be the path to get up to the top of the hill. You walk right past it.
Yeah. And you said that you used to be able to park at the 155th PA.
Yeah, there's a postcard of the 155th Pennsylvania with a Model T sitting beside it. Yeah. So I mean, I imagine the people that fell in love with Gettysburg and came here all the time and were able to drive that way when they got rid of that and made it so that you just had to go up the back or like that we're used to now. They were probably like, you're messing with history. You're changing my park, but that's the thing. And we all give the Park Service a hard time over things like beavers and mowing and all that stuff. But it is a lot of work. It is
to take care of all that stuff. And, they do have the job of preserving the land.
Right.
And we do tend to overdo it sometimes. And it's not always about, erosion and stuff. But lately, that's the excuse we've been given is erosion and things like that. And so they change things. And we'll all be dead one day. And everybody will think it's always been the way it is today.
Yeah.
And so time marches on, sunrise, sunset. Let's all get over it. It's still fun to pick on the park, but let's, but let's be fair. Okay. Let's be fair. Okay. So now the cyclorama building, they move on now. They're going to get that Rosensteel building come hell or high water, right? We don't like that you guys are beating us in we can't compete with you because you have guns and bullets and you've got the electric map
and bones.
Oh, and bones.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't remember bones.
Oh yeah, they had a bone room where they had human remains.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
When did they get rid of that?
That was probably the 1960s, before 1960s.
Damn. Always before I was born.
They had a skull with a bullet stuck in it.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
You remember that, man?
No, I don't remember that, but no, I just didn't. But obviously, cultural sensitivities have changed in those years. But yeah, they used to have.
Yeah.
But you could go to a lot of museums, whether they were private museums or even ones that the government funded, and you would see a lot of battlefield injuries and human remains that were being put on display, which is, as time has gone on, has obviously fallen out of favor, and we view those a lot differently.
We got squeamish.
Well, and
I think
certain maybe more respectful of, this was a human being that's.
Yeah, I think also our
sacrifice.
relationship with death has changed in the 20th century.
Certainly,
I mean, people were more accustomed to death and the things that we consider kind of ghoulish and macabre. They were just like, oh, there's another hip bone, and just throw it on the pile, and like that was it. But
it's interesting what time does to that too, because me just living in England for 3 years, doing some digs where they're finding remains, and that's just normal. They lived in their medieval remains.
Yeah,
we don't have
Dickie 3.
Right.
You're talking about Dickie 3? Was that when you were there?
Well, I was, yes, but that not specifically that. But that's a great example of digging up a king, But just in
Under a
general,
parking lot.
they'll do digs over old medieval
with the big
cemeteries.
letter R for Richard.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, and they'll it's just different. But 1960, that's only 100 years. There's not a lot of generations between that guy's bones that were in that building and the people that were visiting. Grandchildren, maybe children, daughters and sons.
Sure.
People of that generation. So I didn't know that either, Matt. That's very interesting.
It is very interesting. And did they have a lot of? You said they had a bone room.
Well, they had bones on display. Yeah, they buried them.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, back in 1990s, they took the bone collection and held a funeral, brought the old guard up from Washington and took them to the cemetery and buried them.
Good.
The bone collection's buried.
So they gave him a proper burial.
Yeah. And then they found that guy, in the railroad cut.
Yeah, that was the 90s.
They're going to put him in there.
Yeah.
So they had to dig the thing up to get the casket out to put him in. And when they were doing it, they hit a World War I grave and popped the guy out of his casket.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
When they went, so they buried the bones from the bone room in a casket,
right?
And then they had to dig it up to add the guy they found in the railroad cut instead of give him another grave.
Right.
And in the process,
They hit a grave.
next to it.
Well, in the vicinity, it wasn't where he was supposed to be. It wasn't where his head fit.
Oh.
So they didn't know he was there.
Okay.
Oh my God, look at this guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so.
Ooh. That's another thing I've always wondered is how accurate are the headstones?
Well, this one was not accurate.
Yeah.
This one was not obvious. I think the guy moved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
He's like, I don't like it
I
over
don't
here.
want to be with those guys.
I'm going to shimmy this way. Okay, that's interesting though about the bones, and it's true that it's the way like we've changed the way we look at things. And,
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh wow, I'm kind of fascinated by that now.
No,
So anyway, they
I
get
won't
they,
sleep tonight.
Matt.
And I was just going to add, just if you get a chance, there's Charlie. Have you ever heard of the Antietam Arm? Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have.
Phenomenon there. So that's something. I mean, I remember going and seeing that. I don't know if that's still on display
I don't think it is.
to the public now or not. I'm not sure, but anyway, just a very well preserved arm that was recovered near Burnside's Bridge from the Battle of Antietam that basically was petrified, and sort of a medical oddity as well, put on display there too. So yeah, I mean it's the Civil War has a lot of lot of macabre things, about it, and that obviously, that history of human remains being displayed and having those discussions is part of that history.
So the park has its eye on the Rosensteel building and collection. They get it. Was there any controversy with that? I know often when the park acquires things, there's some controversy.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't around then, but they paid $4 million for it.
Okay.
Which at that time was a lot
That's
of
a
money.
lot of money.
But it wasn't enough.
What do you mean?
Well, it was the largest Civil War collection in the world, they say.
Mm-hmm.
And they paid $4 million for that in the building and the property and the parking lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a discount.
It was. But I mean, at the time, it probably was fair.
Sure. Now, so they get it, but do they have offices there, or
They do upstairs.
They do. Oh, that's right. There was an
Superintendent's
upstairs.
office was upstairs.
So and then there were some offices over in the cyclorama
Right.
building, and then the cyclorama building became just the cyclorama building at
Pretty
that
much,
point, right?
yeah.
That's why we call it the cyclorama building.
That's right,
Yeah,
because
but
it was-
but at one point was the visitor
Visitor
center.
center.
And didn't they have that video too that they showed in that Cyclorama Center building after they had the visitor center? Like you went in on the right-hand side. It was like a Gettysburg video. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and it was Scott. Scott tells a story in one of his presentations that it was his job to start the video. So he would be pulling kind of double duty. He'd be at the visitor center, and then it was his turn. Like the video was getting ready to end, so he had to run back over to the cyclorama building and punch to restart the video before it lapsed, so it could loop back over.
Oh man, now everything's automated.
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
need it. Yeah, you just go and do it. Okay, so then now they've got both those buildings, and that visitor center. I mean, I'm sure some of it is nostalgia, what I'm about to say, but I loved that visitor center. I thought it was so cool.
I did,
This is another thing we were talking about earlier, is that a national park visitor center, even though they're all different, they all have the same kind of feel.
okay.
Right? That the Rosensteel building did, Antietam does, Manassas does. And they've made improvements over the years, but they still feel like a National Park Service visitor center.
Yeah.
And so I kind of miss that, about it. But also the collection was just, the gun room was my favorite.
Oh yeah, the guns. I like the big bin of shell fragments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the one just full of bullets. I
And the rafters from, what was it, the Forney farm?
yeah, it's a Forney farm.
With
yeah,
the,
where
you
shell
can
went
see
through.
the
Yeah,
shell track.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
was
is
cool.
that stuff was very cool. I think is that still in the collect? I mean, I know it's in the collection, but is it on display still? I know at one point it was in the current.
Yeah, I don't know.
Museum.
I haven't been in the museum in about 5-6 years. I got to go back in.
Yeah, I
and
do
see that.
too. It's
Yeah.
been like 3 for me.
They supposedly have the cannonball that went through the wall at the Trossel barn.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. How did they know that?
Yeah, I know that because they brought it into the guide room.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess maybe
How
there
would
was.
they
a-
know that was the
Yeah.
cannonball that went through the?
I mean, I guess there
right?
was only one inside.
Well, the family,
yeah,
supposedly. I mean, if you trust the family.
that's the story at
The
least,
hand
right?
down. I got the actual cannonball went through the wall I have in my bedroom.
What?
Yeah, I have it. It holds my door open.
What do you mean the actual
Yeah,
cannonball?
the 12-pounder went through the wall.
Yeah.
I have it in my bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the punchline.
You can just say, well, here's a cannonball. That's the one that hit six.
Oh, exactly. Okay. All right. Yeah.
This is what it's.
You had to be smart to get that joke. That was the
Yeah,
problem.
that's right, yeah.
I didn't.
That was deep.
I'm not not smart enough to get it. All right. Take us further along, Matt. Go ahead.
So obviously, so Ziegler's Grove, we have established these 2 museums. You have the Rosenthal building that now has been converted over into that, and then of course you have the cyclorama building. And as time goes on, really the interesting thing that when it comes to when they are going back to Mission 66, and Charlie, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of those buildings, they were not intended to be permanent structures. Was that your understanding
Yes.
of whenever they erected some of these things?
Yeah.
So the idea was, hey, we're going to have these modern buildings, especially coming up for the centennial, and then we're going to, use them for a short duration of time. And basically there wasn't any more investment, so they just kept using the buildings past their usefulness.
Right.
And as time marched on, buildings began to need more repair. What was considered modern in the 50s and 60s obviously changes over time, and there's a move afoot to start changing and update those things. And also, there's a greater concern about the location of these particular structures on Ziegler's Grove or in the greater Ziegler's Grove area, and there becomes a concern about are we really interpreting and allowing for the best visitor experience, and are we actually preserving this battlefield with these items? So that's when we begin seeing the decommission of these structures, 2008, 2009, and the creation of what we have now is the modern visitor center and its current location, which is still in close proximity to what we would consider Ziegler's Grove.
Yeah.
It is.
And I think it's kind of a better area because it's hidden. It's not,
People
right.
can't find it.
No, I know that. They can't find it when they're there.
I know. They're in the parking lot. Where's the visitor
Yeah.
center?
How about a little landscaping, right?
That was what you used to
Yeah.
answer. The most asked question was where the visitor center is when you were running the bikes down.
When I had Getty's bike and we were in the visitor center bus lot, everybody thought we in our little shed were the visitor center. And I was like, how little do you think of Gettysburg that you think that this would be the visitor center?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Oh,
Every day, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Mike worked there for a bit, and he had to field those same questions. And it was, and I would tell them, you got to go park in lot number 1. And they're like, we were just there, we couldn't find it.
You can't see it.
And I'm like, you're going to be so upset with yourself when you see how big this building is that you missed. And I go, and I would just tell people, look for the American flag.
Yeah.
Head towards it because you couldn't see over the hedges.
No, you couldn't.
Right? And so you can't see, and the building is behind trees.
Yeah.
So you have to look for the American flag.
Well, we didn't want you to see it
No, I know.
because it wasn't here in
It's part of the
1863.
Gettysburg Adventure.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, you have to find the visitor center while at the visitor center.
You know what though? If it was like old school maps or even the MapQuest days, I'd let people get away with it. But it's like, just look at your damn phone.
That was
you
the
can
other.
see where you are.
Right.
Yeah,
You
that
can
was-
tell.
That was the other thing that bothered me was that
Okay.
nobody used their GPS and they would ask me for directions. I'm like, what is this? 1997?
It's a dark ages.
Yeah.
Here's a compass.
And Charlie, you may want to talk about something that's unique about the Gettysburg Visitor Center, which is that it's not necessarily owned by the National Park Service.
Oh
True.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's got a foundation, and this is the only way they could get it. Otherwise they'd have to go to the Congress and get appropriations, which isn't happening. So they created a foundation to raise money to build a modern visitor center, with the stipulation that we'll have a bigger visitor center, we can put more stuff on display.
Right.
Right.
So they get the visitor center. They built it's huge. It's probably one of the biggest ones in the National Park Service, and they put a lot less on display.
Right.
But some of us, and myself included, kind of felt ill-used because of it. But it's all about text. They're supposed to be educating you
Right.
rather than
The narrative.
yeah, the narrative, which takes you to. I hate those things with all the writing on, because people get there and they just camp out,
Yeah.
and you can't see
And
the
you can't-
picture.
yeah.
Of the map,
Yeah. It's impractical.
But anyway, so yeah, and it's supposedly 20-year lease, and then they're supposed to give it back to the Park Service, and I'm going to live long enough. I've been taking my Geritol, and doing all the right things, because it's 2008.
Yeah.
That'll be 20 years.
Yeah. 2028 will be
Yeah,
20 years.
2028.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2028. 2008 is when it opened.
And I think that is an important thing to say, because I don't think people realize when they go to the visitor center that even though there are Park Service personnel there,
Yes.
and it's considered the National Park Visitor Center,
Right.
it is not a government building, although it kind of is treated like a government building, but also it's not a government building. It's very convoluted. Would you like to talk to Boris Yeltsin? Boris Yeltsin is on the phone. I thought he died.
Well,
Maybe it's a different Boris
maybe the
Yeltsin.
talk of bones brought him back.
Maybe. Let's see. Boris,
Yeah.
are you on the phone, Boris?
It's Mr. Yeltsin.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Yeltsin. I'm sorry. Forgive me. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
The most Russian-sounding person I've heard all day, man.
It is the most Russian-sounding person I've heard all day, and he actually sounds a little bit Australian at the same time.
Is that right?
Grant, what's going on with you?
First of all, I have to say it's my distinct privilege to be on the show.
I know. This isn't the Thursday show, Grant. Please, spit it out.
This is a Thursday show?
Grant, the audience is falling asleep.
Yes, I have. Yeah, you're still hosting, I know. Anyway, okay, sorry, I'll get to my questions. I'm sorry. First of all, with Ziegler's Grove, as far as I can tell, is that the place when we've always heard about over the time when we looked into this battle about the Confederate overshoots? Is that the main place we're talking about when the artillery during the cannonade? Is that when we hear the overshoots? Is that the place that everyone's talking about?
No,
I don't think so. No, the overshoots would have probably been more along the Tawnytown Road, Cemetery, and Copse Hill. They're hitting Copse
Cemetery
Hill.
Ridge.
Yeah, Cemetery Ridge. Yeah.
Do you think that Ziegler's Grove might have been, for some of the batteries at least, maybe north of the copse of trees, the easier target to hit? I mean, you just fire into the trees.
Well, Lee doesn't know what's in there.
Right.
So if you're going to send infantry across the field, you better make sure that
Nothing in there.
What's in there is
it's gone.
Disrupted.
Yeah.
You do have artillery there. One of his biggest concerns, I think, is to deaden, lessen, negate, if you can, the Union artillery, and then his infantry would have a better chance of success.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think you see most of that artillery fire is geared towards the Union artillery, not the infantry.
Right.
You can't hit the infantry, because it gets smoke. You can't see the target.
Right.
So these people, that say the big failure of the charge was the fact that Confederate artillery wasn't hitting the target. Meade had to evacuate his headquarters.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You're not hitting the target? Yeah, so the overshoots, to get back to your original question, maybe along Cemetery Ridge, Copse Hill, Cemetery Hill, those areas there. Ziegler's Grove, perhaps, although I think they were aiming for that grove specifically. So a lot of the rounds that are falling into Grove are actually aimed there.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Matt, before we take our break?
No, sir.
All right. How about you, Charlie?
No, I'm good.
Mikey, anything from you?
Not a thing, Matthew.
All right. Do you know which break to go to? Because you don't normally do this.
I don't know, but you can tell.
Just pick, what's the first break you see? It says break what?
Break one?
Break one?
There's full break. There's break without.
Full break.
LGT.
Full break. There you go. Okay.
That's the one we're
Oh,
doing.
no. Without LGT.
That's the one you want me to do?
Yes, sir. All right.
We're going to full
no,
break.
not right now. Hold on a second. So we'll be right back. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, super chats of $10 or more are going to be read. But now we're going to get to our questions when we come back from the break from our patrons over at patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg. And of course, your calls and super chats, $10 or more. It's going to be exciting. Nope, that's not what I meant to hit. I meant to hit this one. Okay, so we'll be right back after these words.
Digital History Pioneers Foundation, we are about grassroots history on digital platforms. That means we are about podcasters, documentarians, YouTubers, and even TikTokers. All of these creators are out there trying to share their love of history with the public. They don't need ideas, they need funding, both from viewers and corporate donors. DH Pioneers' initial funding focus is on the Civil War era, with a special emphasis on the Addressing Gettysburg podcast. So be a vital part of the unique content Addressing Gettysburg has in store by donating at dhpioneers.com and help bring your love of history to the people. Digital History Pioneers is an IRS Section 501c3 approved charitable corporation that makes any donation tax deductible to the fullest extent of the law.
The Gettysburg Museum of History, located right here in the center of Gettysburg, PA. Owner and curator Eric Dorr grew up here and has spent his life collecting and preserving history through artifacts ranging from the Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg, World War II, presidential items, pop culture, and more. His museum is free and open to visitors Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 5 p.m., where you can stop by and immerse yourself in some of the most amazing artifacts that you would never believe exist in the middle of Gettysburg. If you're a fan of Band of Brothers and Everything Easy Company, you'll love his exhibit featuring the Dick Winters collection and artifacts from D-Day. You can even own your own piece of history by buying one of the many relics they have for sale in the museum and on the website gettysburgmuseumofhistory.com. The Gettysburg Museum of History is a non-profit 501c3 organization with a foundation that allows all purchases and donations to keep the museum operating and open free of charge. They have been featured on the History Channel, the Travel Channel, the Smithsonian Channel, and the Science Channel. Now you can check them out on American Artifact, the series on the YouTube channel, The History Underground. So that's the Gettysburg Museum of History at 219 Baltimore Street or the gettysburgmuseumofhistory.com.
If you like this podcast and what we're doing here, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Pickett's charge take?
That's another great question.
Who can forget the sounds of the 60s?
The 1860s. I can't, and you can't either. Now, there's Marching Through Georgia, the exciting new album by Billy Webster. All of your favorite hits of the 1860s in one place. Such hits as Gary Owens, The Battle Hymn of the Republic, All Quiet Along the Potomac Tonight, Marching Through Georgia, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Go to billysongs.com and order your digital download of Billy Webster's Marching Through Georgia today. That's billysongs.com. Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, Gettysburg's premier museum, is housed in the historic Lutheran Seminary building constructed in 1832, a witness to the first day of battle. The museum's 3 floors of exhibits connect visitors to the dilemmas that led to the Civil War, provide a powerful and personal view of the battle's first day, and explore one of the battlefield's largest hospitals. No visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center is complete without a guided tour of the building's famous cupola, where on the eve of battle, officers and civilians saw thousands of Confederate soldiers' campfires burning to the west, and Brigadier General John Buford watched for vital federal reinforcements as fighting erupted on the morning of July 1st. Today, you can stand where Buford stood and discover how this view helped chart the course of the Battle of Gettysburg. Your trip to Gettysburg is not complete without a serious visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, Gettysburg's premier museum. Purchase tickets online at seminaryridgemuseum.org or call 717-339-1300. To get tickets or a cupola tour, listeners may call or walk in and mention address in Gettysburg, or by ordering online using the promo code AG1863 for 20% off. Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center. It began here.
There's a devil to pay.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Okay, great. Hey, Charlie, you know what Patreon is?
Yes.
Okay, well, we have one, of course, as you know. And, it allows people like me, they call us creators. I find that to be obnoxious, but that's what they call us. It allows us to sync our podcast feeds that you listen to on other apps like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., to our Patreon account. So now, if you're a patron and you have the Patreon app, you can listen to all of our shows wherever they be, whether they're free shows or member shows, right there in one app. How easy is that, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is very easy. Not only will you get the shows that your chosen tier is entitled to, but all patrons of any tier, even the free ones, who are just really followers, they get to listen to the show from our free feed via the Patreon app, like I just said. That means Ask a Guide's anniversary shows, other free releases are now available on Patreon. They want to make things easier for us creators, and this creator wants to make things easier for you, his audience, to listen without having to switch between apps. This is only one of the myriad reasons that you should finally get your head on straight and support Addressing Gettysburg on Patreon. And please know that I hate the words content and creator, especially when combined together. So go to patreon.com/Addressing Gettysburg and join up. Okay, where am I? So rusty. What is happening?
You can lead a horse to run.
Oh, forget it all.
At once.
It's playing 60 different songs. I'm so rusty. You take a month off from doing this, so you just forget how to do everything. All right, so we're back now. It's time for our questions with Charlie Fennell and Matt McClanahan on this episode of Ask a Gettysburg Guy. We're talking about Ziegler's Grove. Rob Fry says, was Ziegler's Grove Lee's true intended target for the assault? I hear yes and no. It was always the copse of trees. So the short answer to that, we covered that already in the beginning. The short answer is there is that theory out there, but most people disagree with that theory because participants of the battle did not say that. They said specifically what we know as the copse of trees is the objective. But Charlie, you say the angle.
The angle, yeah, that's what I said.
Was the actual objective,
Yeah.
but you can't say to all the commanders that angle in the wall because they might not be able to see it, but the trees they can see.
Yeah.
Is that basically
well? Once the Union open up, it disappears in the smoke. So you can't see the wall.
Right. No, well, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. All right. And his second question is, how significant was the damage to both the artillery and infantry units during the bombardment on July 3rd in Ziegler's Grove? And we touched that on, but give us a little bit more about that. We talked about the 108th New York and their casualties, 50% just from being under artillery fire. Right. How about any others?
Well, Woodruff's battery got hammered pretty good. He's killed. I don't know the casualties. You can look it up. It's in Busey and Martin, but he took significant losses there. But those are the two that I usually use. I mean, the other ones are behind the Grove and are less impacted there. But Martin took some casualties as well, but his guns were never engaged.
Okay.
They were sitting back in reserve. And they were probably... Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say, and I think any casualties to the infantrymen were de minimis. But I don't think that
they were
incurred
what?
De minimis.
Minimal.
Hold on.
Minimus.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was getting my funkin' Wagnalls out there. Okay, so go ahead. You're diminutive.
Matt
and
thinks
you were
it's
saying
to a higher level.
Yeah, he does. Like a lawyer.
I don't know about that. No. It's like Matt's going to think I'm casting a spell on him whenever I say words like that or something.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. Go on with that crazy voodoo that you do.
Yes. Now, the infantry, they're hugging the ground at that point, so the casualty figures for the artillerymen that Charlie alluded to, those are significant on Ziegler's Grove, but as far as any infantrymen that were in that general vicinity, not as many casualties for them.
Right.
All right, Benjamin No says, in the late morning, early afternoon of July 3rd, did anyone on Cemetery Ridge comment on or notice the Confederates rolling out the artillery in advance of the bombardment, since Ziegler's Grove had a view of what was about to happen? Something to the effect of, "Sir, something's wrong over there." They're getting the artillery ready for quite a while, and it's not like they're hiding, because if you're hiding it, then you're not going to be in a good position to fire. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you can hide in one of the swales, but then you're not going to be able to hit anything. So you got to get up into a good position that will be visible.
Well, a lot of the artillery was already deployed, especially along Cemetery Ridge.
Yeah.
Seminary Ridge.
Yeah.
The guns that come up on the Emmitsburg Road came up just before the barrage.
Okay.
Yeah, they would see them, but you don't have time to react to it.
Right.
As soon as they come up, they
start, they unload,
signal shot, and then all hell breaks.
And that's where it started, right? On the I guess it would be the Confederate right is where it started on the right and worked its way down.
Yeah, they the two guns. I think it's Moody's battery. Was fired 2 measured shots, and that was a signal for all the guns to open fire.
Mm-hmm.
You probably knew something was going to happen. It wasn't going to be good because the second gun misfired, so they had to get another friction primer and pull it off. But that launched the barrage.
So much for the 2-shot signal.
So the Union really didn't have time to absorb the information of what's seeing these guns rolling up till they open fire, and then they know, oh my God, they're firing.
Yeah, right. And then you got to just deal with that.
Yeah.
He also wants to know, is the topography of the land between Seminary and Cemetery Ridge accurate to the battle's time? So the way it is today, we've talked about this many times before, there's a lot of changes that occurred, especially in the field that we call Pickett's Charge today. There were a lot of things that happened there over the years.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of them?
Well,
first of all, you had Camp Colt, so you've got you have a tank maneuvers that are going across the battlefield. Whenever Eisenhower was a junior officer, that had a big impact on the topography of the battlefield and the camping and military activities of a more modern era that were going on there.
In order to do that, you've got to build buildings for the camp, right? So you've got to level the ground.
They were level to some degree, but they're temporary buildings.
Right. Well, it's still going to be level.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And Eisenhower wanted them level. He brought in bulldozers.
Yeah.
He even put a swimming pool in.
That was the other thing I was going to say. There was a swimming pool. Where was that?
It was in front of the U.S. Regulars monument.
How far in front?
Not too far. 50 yards at the most. Is that right?
Okay, so on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, it's on the Confederate side.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can do anything you want on the Confederate side.
Right.
You don't mess on the Union side.
Okay. Nicholas Affalter says, 2 questions. My last visit to Gettysburg was just a few weeks ago, and I wondered what plans the park has for Ziegler's Grove area. Seems to me they just continue to let the grass grow really high with no interpretation since the land was restored after the old museum's removal. This is not a criticism of the National Park or the Foundation. They do a wonderful job. 2, how well do the monuments in that area represent the fighting there? And please give a brief history of Alexander Hayes' portrait statue. How about the plans? Any plans that you know of for that area, or is it just basically going to be the same?
It's going to be the same. I mean, they're having trouble with maintenance in the sense that they're over with all the rain we've had. That everything's grown. They just can't keep up.
And then the Alexander Hayes portrait statue. Why don't we talk about that? Because we haven't touched on that. That's interesting. So go ahead.
What was it? Schwartz. The artist did 7 statues.
Okay.
On the field. It's like Schwartz. I forget his name.
Mike, can you Google that?
Yeah, Google it. But he did Alexander Hayes. He did Lincoln, Pleasanton, David McMurtry Gregg on the Pennsylvania Monument. He did Wells.
Otto Schweitzer.
Schweitzer, yeah.
He's from Switzerland.
Yes. And he did
from Switzerland.
Wells, and he did Humphreys, and he did Geary.
All right.
So those are the ones he did. And Hayes is a nice monument. Don't know what else you want to say about it. He's a Pennsylvania boy. Went to West Point, graduated in 1844. Hancock was in the class. Simon Bolivar Buckner was in the class. Pleasanton was in the class. These are just some of the names you might recognize there. And they were all ahead of Hayes. Yeah. But he supposedly, coming out and looking into the field. Remember, his headquarters is the Bryan farm.
Right.
And every time he comes out there, somebody shoots at him.
Yeah. It's not a good. Why would you pick that place as your headquarters?
You can see.
It's right there. Well,
it's
I guess.
in Ziegler's Grove. I mean, it's the best view of the battlefield.
Yeah, but you don't have to make it your headquarters.
Well, it's wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I know basically about the monument.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was getting at there. I don't really know anything about the history of the monument. So how about you, Mike? Do you know anything about the history of the monument? Mike says no, he doesn't know. Sorry about that one there, Nick.
Yeah.
Brian Jackson says a couple of questions. I walk through Ziegler's Grove every time I visit. I know the Grove has changed when they put in the National Cemetery, but what is the major difference between the Grove today versus July 1863? Second question is when, where, and how Woodruff got mortally wounded. There was a section under Egan by the stone wall just north of the Bryan farm, and Woodruff has 4 guns on the north side of the Grove. Leno, page 362, has them in front of the Grove, in front of the 126th New York, with the 108th on either side. I always thought before getting the Leno map book that they were in the Grove. How about we just go back to the questions themselves here, which was what's the difference between the Grove today versus July 1863? You said before taller trees. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a much more mature stand of timber there. So you're going to see bigger trees, taller trees. Also, there's not going to be tall grass. You're not going to have any of the underbrush that's there. One, because of the livestock practices of those days. You got free range cattle and pigs and horses running around. They're going to eat a lot of that underbrush. Plus, you got David Ziegler, who's serving as a tenement farmer there. He's going to be trying to clean that out and trying to scratch out a living there. So you would have seen an area that would have more closely resembled in some ways a natural park, in the sense of you've got these really tall trees providing a nice canopy, real short grass, not a whole lot of underbrush there. Whereas now you see some pretty tall grass, and it's not indicative of what probably David Ziegler would have seen in 63.
We have a super chat from Grant. Thank you, Grant. He says, I've read that the Grove is now haunted by the spirits of the witness trees that are long gone. Is that true? And is there any part of the witness trees Are there any parts of the witness trees from the Grove still around anywhere? Do we know of any witness trees that have survived from the Grove?
Well, they cut them all down in 1886.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's any there.
Yeah. Could be a piece of furniture that's still floating around town that was made out of them, maybe?
Yeah.
What'd you say they were? Oaks?
Probably oaks or poplar.
Yeah. Okay.
Hardwoods.
Yeah.
What they would be. The biggest difference is the parking lot.
Right.
It wasn't there in 1863.
That's true.
Yeah.
I thought that's where they parked the artillery.
Close.
Or the nice footpath.
Or the nice footpath. Or those nice stone walls we talked about, Matt.
Yeah, right,
yeah,
right.
Also,
There you go.
Now, so the part that he asked about, the section under Egan by the stone wall just north of the Bryan farm, and Woodruff has 4 guns on the north side of the Grove. So in other words, south of the 4 guns are the 2 from Egan, under Egan. Leno has them in front of the Grove, in front of the 126th New York. So their monument is up right at the intersection, right?
Yeah, it's right by the Bryan barn is where it is.
126th.
Oh, the 126th.
It's 126, yeah.
It's in the...
Is the right up at by the Hayes statue.
Right, yeah,
right.
right by the Hayes.
And the 108th is just south of that.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
okay. On either side. I always thought before getting them they were in the Grove. Okay. I don't, do you get what he's saying?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
There's one account said that there was one section that was south of the Bryan farm because they could see better.
Mm-hmm.
The other 4 were north of it. I always assumed they were along the the edge of the grove.
Okay.
Now, that would be in front of the 126th, obviously, there, because there's a nice ledge there. And it's probably directing those near the Bryan farmers where Willard gets hit with a shell fragment.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty close to the Bryan farmers.
Wait, Willard, Cheryl.
No,
Yeah.
Woodruff.
Woodruff.
We're talking about Woodruff.
Woodruff,
I'm sorry.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting late.
I know.
Yeah, so Woodruff.
Willard got hit in the head down
that'd be all.
outside of across from the Pennsylvania mine.
Cheryl's going to get it during the Pickett's charge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, let's get on to that then here. We've got 3 questions from Don Zavadny. He says, Don, I think this is your first time submitting questions, so thank you very much and welcome. He says, on July 3rd, do you think that General Lee and the Confederate Army used Ziegler's Grove as the landmark? Can we answer that one? 2, how was General Eliakim or Eliakim? How do you say it?
Eliakim.
That's how I say it. Tim Smith, I think, called him Eliakim, Cheryl, and I said, what are you doing?
It's changing history.
Okay, so he's mortally wounded on. How was he mortally wounded on July 3rd? Is his first question.
Sit with the boy. I did the program on that, and I can't remember if it was a shell fragment or bullet that got him.
Where's he hit?
Upper body, head.
Head.
Yeah.
But he didn't die right away.
No.
Because his rebuke from the previous day by Hancock do you think that influenced his actions on July 3rd?
It probably had to. I mean, he was relieved of command by Hancock.
Yeah.
Hayes intervened.
Right.
And got him reinstated just in time to get killed, of course.
Do you think that made him expose himself to danger?
I think he's going to anyway. He's that kind of commander.
Yeah.
And these guys have a chip on their shoulder, right? From Harper's Ferry. So, they're not really too concerned about getting killed, I don't think.
And, we just did a show, Mikey and I, with Dr. Craig Miller, who is a vascular surgeon, and he has an article coming out in Gettysburg Magazine soon about sleep deprivation at Gettysburg. You reviewed it, I think you said.
I did, yeah.
And it has completely changed the way I view the actions of all of these men.
Okay.
From the highest general all the way down to the lowest private. Because the things that he describes that happen to us with sleep deprivation, and I guess, and I didn't cover this in the interview with him, but I guess if you couple that with lack of nutrition,
right?
It's got to, no wonder people expose themselves to danger. It's, people go, well, you get used to it after a while. No, you're tired.
You're tired. You don't know what you're doing.
You might as well, like they said in the article, it said that a certain point of sleep deprivation is equivalent to like a 0.1 alcohol level in your blood.
Right.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of booze.
It is.
And I would not want to be driving with somebody with that much alcohol coursing through their veins. Yeah. And so, the fact that he exposed himself, sure, he maybe did that often, but he was maybe tired often.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes you think differently. And we're going to put that interview out when the article comes out,
good.
so that it's like a kind of a supplement to the article there.
Okay.
To be fair, too, there's really no safe place to be when you're commanding. That's true. You could be as safe as you want in the rear, and it's just as dangerous as it is in the front. Sometimes it's just crap luck. The worst soldiers survive the war, and the best ones or the best officers get it doing exactly as they should be doing.
That's the thing that's so crazy is that there's shit flying everywhere.
Oh yeah, all over the place.
If it misses the intended targets on the line, it keeps going. It doesn't just go 4 feet past them and go, well, I missed my target, and then just drop to the ground. It keeps going until it hits something or it loses its momentum.
Right.
That's bullets, that's shells, that's hard, solid shot. It's all of it.
Yeah.
It goes flying. You're right, Mike. There is no safe place. On the line, behind the line. Get me far away from any line where there's bullets flying around.
Right.
That's where I want to be. Right. Far, far away. Far, far, far away. And number 3, Don wants to know, how has post-war development and park changes over time how has it impacted Ziegler's Grove? How closely has the recent rehabilitation of Ziegler's Grove restored it to its 1863 appearance? So we got rid of the building.
Yeah.
But
I think Matt did a really good job explaining that.
That's you, Matt. He's talking about you.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
I know.
you did a
Charlie
good job.
Fennell said something nice about me. I'm going to remember this day.
Yeah. Well, it's deserved.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So just summarize that for us, Matt. Just answer this question in summary.
So basically, number one, there's a parking lot and a footpath there. Also, there's no stand of mature timber there. There's no evidence of livestock grazing the area. There's also been the erection of the stone wall, and the stone wall that's not 1863 correct. Also the archway and the fence and some of the other monumentation and decoration that's there present now. So right. If you were to go back in time in 1863, you probably would have seen more evidence of agricultural pursuits that are there and a lot of tall mature oak trees.
Right.
And as far as the work that they're doing now, I will say to the park's credit, I know they're trying to utilize some native grasses which would have been present, but the grass wouldn't be as tall as it is now. And the tree cover would be dramatically different.
I have to say, it's very interesting to see, and of course I knew this, but I've never experienced it, where you're in Tennessee, Matt. What, 10 hours away?
That is correct.
It's a 10-hour drive.
Yes. No.
What? How far?
It's actually 9.
Oh,
so
God.
you're close.
Yeah, not
call me Grant.
You idiot.
Sorry, it's 9 hours away
Yes,
driving.
let's be specific.
Yeah. But what's interesting is it's pitch black here, and you still have the sun setting behind you. Or is that a reflection?
Or is that a light?
Or is that a street light?
That is actually a street
Oh.
light.
That's what it is. There's another one over there.
I was going to say, I know there's like a delay as you go west, but I didn't realize it was that much of a delay.
I see the light.
That is a street light.
See, Mike, if you were recording, I would delete this feed and I'd edit that part out and put it up tomorrow so nobody would know I'm stupid.
I was trying to protect you, and you're the one that changed it back, Matt.
What? Mikey, I'm teasing you. Okay? Mikey, are you all right?
Yeah.
Okay. You all right, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just finish the show.
All right, we're going to finish the show because that's what we do at the end.
Okay, finish it. Okay.
We are. We're going to finish it somehow. Charlie, thank you very much for coming and doing this. I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it. I hope you
Appreciate
enjoyed your pizza. You had 4 slices.
I did.
Yeah. I had 3.
I ate one for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, 1 for tomorrow. Right. Matt, sorry you weren't here to enjoy the pizza with us, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm sorry I wasn't able to come to Gettysburg, but the next time I come, I've got a 10-month-old little boy at home. I'm trying to bring him to Gettysburg in the not too distant future. I would love for him to take his first steps on the Gettysburg battlefield. So
Good.
I'm trying to indoctrinate him early.
Ziggler's Grove.
Is he taller than me?
There you go.
'Cause if he's taller than me, he's not allowed to come here. I'm tired of little kids being taller than I am.
Oh, poor Mike. All right, and Mike, thank you for your help in the back there, and ladies and gentlemen watching at home, God darn it, I do. I keep missing my post on that. Ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Hosted by Matt Callery, with Mikey B. Bariski, and Courtney Micker. Produced by Matt Callery and Courtney Micker. Guides appear gratis, but they would love for you to hire them for a tour on your next visit to the battlefield. To be put in touch with one, send an email to matt@addressinggettysburg.com. Thanks for watching.
Our hearts so stout have got us fame, forsooth 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they dread the name of Gary Owen and glory. Instead, follow drink down there and pay the reckoning on the nail. No man forget shall go to jail from Gary Owen and glory. Instead, follow drink down